Hi guys, and welcome back to my channel. My name is Johanna. For those of you who are new here, welcome. For those of you who are returning, welcome back. In today's video, I'll be doing my November 2021 completed coloring pages, and if that is of interest to you, please stay tuned. Okay, so I didn't color as much as I did in October. I actually didn't start coloring until mid-November, but then I've been doing a lot of other things, so I don't know how many pages I have, and I only say that not because it matters whether I had 2 pages or 20, 30, 40, 50, it doesn't matter. It's just the video might not be as long as some of them have been. So I will start with this. This is Reptiloids by Vassal Psycho, and I've been doing a group watercolor with my friends Emma, Erica, and Poet. Any of the channels I mentioned, I will link in the description box below. And the theme of what we've been doing lately is we're not choosing a particular picture. We're just choosing a particular color palette. So for November, it was autumnal, and when I was flipping through to choose my page, this definitely stood out to me. So the reason why I did, if you can't see the top there, is because of this bird, and it says, "I brought the bird, where's the stuffing?" Now, I'm not going to say that this guy was the Thanksgiving dinner, but he was delicious. I did this in Ohuhu's Shuttle Art Skin Tones Sharpies, and then I didn't write the pencils, but I came in and did this with Amazon Basics just to do some of the shading, and there also is some glitter gel pen on here. I didn't finish this on Thanksgiving, but I did a lot of it on Thanksgiving and then through Thanksgiving weekend. We do already have another one set up in here. Again, same kind of concept where we choose the picture. It's just the color palette is been defined. I think we have that through January. I don't know where Emma is in her journey in here because she's done a lot of the pages, and so I would not be surprised if she finishes this book in 2022, and so we might just continue to do that as a group until she finishes the book, and then maybe figure out something else. But that was a picture that I've completed in Reptiloids by Vassal Psycho. I did do some PDFs from Zodi Sadler's shop. This first one that I'm going to be showing you was because I was doing a collab hop with my friends Sarah, Jamie, and Tiana, and we each took a picture of the Tinseltown PDF set, and then over a period of 8 days we showed you what we were doing with it. This is the one that I did with you guys. I only added just a few additional touches by way of the string lights there, and then I finished the antlers and the background for the reindeer here. But otherwise, most of this you guys saw. And then I did buy another PDF set from Zoe's shop, and it was the fairy tale one because I wanted to do these for Olga Rani's monthly challenge, which was fairy tale for the month of November. And so the two that I chose were the Frog Prince and then the Princess and the Pea. Now, a lot of the coloring books that I own actually have a lot of fairy tale elements. So it wasn't like I didn't have anything for the prompt, but I printed these out and took them to work, and I was able to actually color them during lunch breaks during work. So it just made it a little bit more portable. I don't lean towards PDFs. I would rather deal with crappy Amazon paper than print my own coloring pages, but because I was already doing it for the collab hop, I just thought, okay, well, I'll just buy another set. And the paper that I used is not quite copy paper thickness. It's certainly not cardstock, but it's certainly not copy paper. It was in my stash. I don't know where. I don't know what it is. It took the markers really well, but I didn't think it worked really well with the pencils. But overall, I'm really happy with the effects, and I brought this home to finish the background with Distress ink and my stencil. I meant to come in and finish the stars, but I was done. So these are both completed pages as well as this one. Next one I completed is out of this, She Said It Best, Jane Austen, Wit and Wisdom to Color and Display, illustrated by Kimma Parrish. And I actually have 2 butters set up with Pixie. Neither of us had the time in November to complete it, but I did do one for Olga Rani's challenge, which was for Umbrella. I did this picture right here, and it's a quote from Pride and Prejudice that says, "The distance is nothing when one has a motive." And I just like the color range in here. It was very simple, mostly alcohol markers by way of Ohuhu Sharpies and Art 101s. There's some AN Art glitter gel pens, and this was for Olga Rani's weekly challenge of Umbrella. I did 2 in here. Well, kind of. When I show you the first one, you're like, yeah, I don't know if I would count that as one, but I'm counting it as one because it has a tab. So this is Meine Reise durch Europa by Rita Berman. I believe this is my travels in Europe. And the very first one I did was this one here. This was a super quick color. And the reason I did it is because this also fit Olga Rani's challenge of Umbrella. And so I did this in Tombow water-based markers, mild liner, and Amazon Basics. And Amazon Basics factors in as my color pencil of choice, not so much because it's a great color pencil, because it's actually not one of my faves, but it's like right there. So I don't have to pull or move anything, and it's easy. So I'm definitely of the school of least resistance. And then this was a butter color that I had chose along with Poet. And so this actually was twofold. It's a butter color that I had with her. We do have one more in here, but this also fit for Olga Rani's challenge of mushrooms, because there's those 2 mushrooms right there. And I did this with Tombow water-based markers, mild liner, my Tombow twin tones, Amazon Basics, and some AN Art glitter gel pens. It's really vibrant and bright, but I like how it came out. And I do plan on doing our other butter color. As you can see, it's already marked, hopefully in December, so I can get that to her. I'd also like to finish this, but it's low on the priorities. And this is Rita Berman's Meine Reise durch Europa. I did complete a page in here. This is Winged Beauty, and this is a compilation coloring book from Fairy Magazine that has art styles from Renee Taylor, Corey Godby, Stephanie Law, Ruth Sanderson, and Charles Vess. And I did this. Actually, that would have counted for Olga's challenge, but I already had completed it. This is the one picture I like to do a month for Corey of Colorfully Optimistic's channel, where I believe it was was for November. So this has 5 different color pencils on there. They're all Prismas. 931, 1011, 1013, 1101, and 1014. And it kind of, I didn't want to make it into a 2-page spread by the way of the colors, plus I was limited because I had to choose colors that started with D, but I like that these 2 are completed. And so I actually typically like to do mushrooms in red. I don't know why. It's probably a Mario thing, but I didn't have that availability. So I really like how this is. And when I do my 5 color pencil challenges, I really have to be very cognizant of what goes where, because this was another one of those 5 pencil challenges where, okay, if you have very limited colors and I'm not actually choosing them, they're kind of getting chosen for me because they have to start with a certain letter, then what goes where so that there's contrast? Because I could have made these green and her purple, but again, I just had to be very aware of that. But I love how they came out. And then I did that in pencil as well. I would have loved to have brought some glitter to this. I would have loved to have brought some white gel pen, but again, I do like to do the 5 pencil challenge for Corey's. I don't know if she's doing one for December. I'll have to reach out to her, but December would be E because that's the next letter in the alphabet. I don't know how easy that will be to find, but I'm certainly up for the challenge. But yeah, that was this page right here. And this is Winged Beauty, and it is a compilation coloring book. I don't know where you can find this. I bought mine secondhand from my friend Susie. I'll link her channel below as well. So you may just want to research online, do a Google search of Winged Beauty and from Fairy Magazine, and hopefully you can track one of these down. I did one out of this. This is Heidi Hornsby's Tortured Tales. And it was this one right here. It was, I believe, it was the very first week of November where the prompt was sheep. And that was actually really hard for me to find. And so I knew I had this here, so I did this at work. And so it was a very simple coloring. I like a Heidi's coloring book just because you can go as ornate or as simple as you want. I didn't do any pencil work. I didn't do any gel pen work. I didn't do any of that. I just did a straight wash of alcohol markers. This is done in my Mondo Llamas, and then I have a high-tech C pen to do the outline, and basically it just says, Little Bo Peep has lost her sheep and doesn't know where to find them. Leave them alone and they'll come home wagging their tails behind them. And then I think it goes on and on and on and on, but that's what fit the page. And so there's that picture here, and that is from Heidi Hornby's Tortured Tales. Heidi actually has a channel here on YouTube. So if you're interested in this book, I would actually go to her YouTube channel, and then she should have all of the links for this because I did purchase this from Amazon, and you can throw some commission her way. But Tortured Tales, Heidi Hornsby. I did do a page out of here. This is Kira Shishneva's Women's World, and I did this picture. This was for Rashmi's India coloring. Now, I didn't post anything on Instagram, but I did do a few pages towards that hashtag, and so I chose this lovely lady here. For this book, I don't stray a lot from the actual chosen color palette, but sometimes I don't like the colors that they're saying, so I just choose my own. But I thought she was really pretty. I do have to remember that if I'm using my alcohol markers and there's these dark black elements, not to color over it, because that's how I color, but the ink actually moves. So if you can see there around her eyebrows, there's some smudging, and that would be why. But I did enjoy this coloring page. This is one of the ones I probably would like to get done by 2022. It is not one of my go-to, but sometimes when I'm looking for particular prompts like Rashmi's or sometimes Olga's, then this has been a go-to book for me, but I don't generally favor a lot of color by numbers, and so this is actually the only one that I have by Kira Shishniva. The other one, the mandala one, I already finished, so yeah. Women's World is a color by Kira Shishniva. I did do two in Hot Tropics, a Tiki Pinup coloring book, and both of these were butter colors. And so this one here, I actually made a mistake. And so Chelsea Murray Coloring and I set up a butter color for November, and when she suggested a page, or I suggested a page, one of us suggested a page, all I saw was a lady on a rock. Well, apparently there's two ladies on a rock in this book, and so I colored this one. She colored the other one, and then when I finally sent this to her, because she was actually finished earlier in the month, she's like, oh, that's not the picture. I'm like, oh, wait, what? There's another lady on a rock? And so I looked, and sure enough, there is. I don't know why I was questioning her. I actually scrolled through and saw her lady, and it was a different lady. But I'm like, wait, what? So we are going to do the other. So I'm going to do the one I should have done, and she's going to do this one, and we're going to do that in January. Like I mentioned in some of the other ones, I am looking up Hawaiian names for all of these ladies. Her name is Kaena, and that means praised in Hawaiian. And this was done with Ohuhu's Tombow alcohol markers, and Art glitter gel pens, and Tombow twin tone pens, and those are water-based. I think she's really pretty, but I just feel a little embarrassed I did the wrong page. Oh well, we've got one set up for January. And then I finished a watercolor with my girl, Poet. She actually, I think, had hers done in October, but I wasn't able to manage it in October, so I got this done. And I did block it out in the blue. That's not actually part of the original page. This was done in Sharpie, Ohuhu, Ian Art Glitter Gel Pens, a Uniball White Jelly Roll, and her name is Anuhea, and that means cool fragrance. I think she's really pretty. And so to see Poets, you'll actually have to look at, I believe, her October finish pages, because I was a bit late with this. And so that is, oh, I didn't mention it. Her name is Carla Magana, of course, you probably all know. And this is Hot Tropics, a Tiki Pinup coloring book. I did do two in here, and this was a watercolor with my girl, Deb Albeck, and she is on Instagram. I'll link her Instagram below. And we did this one together. And this one was very simple, very straightforward. And I thought it was a little bit of white space, but I didn't want to have to do a full-on background. And so I generally like to add a quote, and I feel, okay, background done. And the quote is, "Look first for honesty and a smile, not beauty." And that's by J.H. Hard. This was done with Sharpie, Ohuhu, and Shuttle Art skin tones. And, oh, I just realized there's no glitter on this page. That's interesting, because I usually like to glitter-tastic this. I didn't mention, it is Surreal Fantasy by Ikuko, and the pictures in here are absolutely glorious. If you're into really pretty, but also kind of quirky. And then the other picture that I did, and so this one is in the white background. And then this one I did in the black background. And this was done in Tombow alcohol markers, Distress ink, and Ian Art glitter gel pens. And I love how she looks. I love how Deb had done hers, especially with the other one. They're just so pretty, and yet they're weird, and I love that. This was, I don't know if you can see it, but this is actually bats. So this was a stencil that I had picked up in November, and then some Distress ink, and it just, I don't know, it just is so beautiful to me. This is actually one of my favorite pictures, and I love what Deb had done with hers. So we do have another one set up in here for December, and so I am looking forward to this. The two sections are exactly the same. It's just one has black background and one has white. Now, I generally am not someone who wants to color things again, but I might make an exception in this one because the pictures are just so beautiful and yet whimsical. You can take it in all kinds of directions, and so it might be a good tester just for color combinations and whatnot. But this is Surreal Fantasy by Ikuko. This is Ladies of Leisure by Zan Von Zed. This is the picture that I did for the 3 marker challenge. Again, for Corey's monthly challenge where she's actually just looking at using her stuff that start with the letter, I'm looking to use in one page 3 alcohol markers, and another page 5 pencils, and then I'm just choosing the color because I actually don't have as many different products that start with different letters. And so this is the one that I chose, but I also did twofold because I counted this towards Sarah's Coloropoly because one of my prompts was hair. And so this is done with Ohuhu Deep Olive Green, Dark Blush, and Deep Cream. And I think I'm going to do this for all my pictures going forward because I always write it on the side here, but I actually like that. And I think even with my pencil pages, I will do the same because you wouldn't think that these are the 3 colors in here. I mean, maybe the pink, but you don't see that dark green anywhere because I chose to mix colors in the pens and then kind of swatch it on there. So I think she looks really pretty. The skin tones are always going to be a bit wonky with these challenges because I'm literally dealing with 3 different colors. But otherwise, I think Zan Von Zed's pictures are stunning. And I think they do definitely lead themselves to a challenge like this because the elements in the background generally can recede based on how you color them, and I don't feel a need to put anything else on the page. But yeah, this was for Olga Rani's. Oh, she had one that was long hair, and then for Corey, this was D for November, and then for Sarah, it was Coloropoly hair. So this actually took care of 3 things for me. In November, I was really looking to stack things up like that, just so that I could count towards a lot of things, but not have to do a lot of pictures. And that is Ladies of Leisure by Zan Von Zed. I did do a page in this. This is Forest Girls Coloring Book. This is the 2nd edition by Opal. I think this only comes in this premium edition. I've never seen anyone who has the same paper as the 1st and the 3rd book, but I finally got one done in here. And it is this picture right here. Now, it is not a huge favorite of mine. In fact, I just realized I didn't write anything down. I did this all in watercolor with just a little bit of Amazon Basics here and there. This was for Olga Rani's prompt doll, and so I found her there. It was a rather quick color, but I don't know that I like watercolors in this book. They don't move like I would think it would. So I don't know what this paper is made for, because it's definitely thicker paper. I just assumed it was for watercolor. Maybe I'm just not that good at watercolors, but watercolor paper moves a particular way. It didn't pill, so it definitely takes the water, but I just didn't like the movement of it. But it is a completed page. I don't hate it. It's just, it's a lot more muted and muddy. Now also I'm lazy and I don't clean my palette, so that could have something to do with it as well. But yeah, that is the picture I completed from here. And that is Opal's Forest Girls Coloring Book. This is the 2nd one. And all of the ones I've ever seen have been the premium edition that has this paper. The 1st and the 3rd book have different paper. It isn't like this at all. I did do 2 pages in here. This is World Travel, I think. It's all in Japanese, and I should write it down, but I never do. But this is an Erie coloring book, and this is a tracing coloring book. And so the 2-page spread I did was this. This was the one I definitely wanted to complete in November. This was actually twofold, at least this one was. This was for Olga Rani's umbrella, but I wanted to do this for Rashmi's India coloring. It was in celebration of Diwali. I actually looked what that was up and did a little bit of journaling there just so that I would know. I don't know that this actually signifies it, but that's why she was doing the hashtag on Instagram. And so this is actually the Amber Palace. I did look that up because you can actually see where the places are that Erie colored. And then I did this one as well. I think they look really well. I used watercolor in here for this. I didn't know that I was going to do that. I know that sounds bizarre, but I did all of the outlining prior to November, because I think when Rashmi had done her announcement, it was prior to November. And so I did all of the outlining in just a water-based Staedtler, I think, because I didn't use black. I used different colors. And that's fine if you're doing pencil work, but if you're doing watercolor work, those will move. And so they moved. And so some of them that you see here that are pristine were just colored in with Tombows or mod liners or twin tones, something water-based. But this one I heavily leaned into watercolors, and you can see a lot of bleeding. I came back and did some cleaning, but then I kind of actually like the effect of that because it makes it look old. And this is an old building, so I don't know. I don't know that I did the building justice, but I do like the effect on the paper. And then the elephant, because it was such a big space, I didn't want to do that in a water-based marker, and I certainly didn't want to do that in a pencil. And so I also did that in watercolor. But I'm really happy with this 2-page spread. After the fact, I went in and I did the stencil or this trellis work or whatever that's called in black. I should have done it in brown because I think it stands out too much. So I finished up that element, but then everything else I retraced over with brown. I think it looks really nice. It certainly looks kind of sketchy to me, but in a good way. But yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I was glad I was able to get this because out of all of the things I wanted to get done, this I definitely wanted to because I knew I wasn't going to be posting on Instagram, but I did like learning about a new holiday festival that I had never understood about before. So this is the 2-page spread that I did in this, and this is either World Travel or World Celebration, something like that, by Erie. And then the final picture that I did is actually in this one. This is the only coloring book that I purchased in November. Actually, I received it in November. I actually purchased it in October. I did it secondhand via Amazon. And the only thing that was missing was someone ripped out a page, but none of the rest of it, yeah, someone ripped this out. But otherwise, the book was untouched. And I actually did this page for Sarah, and that was for her Coloropoly, and it was actually twofold for me. I didn't want to come into this book quite yet because, as you can see, it's very Zentangly, Zendoodly, and I thought it would just be too much. And one of my prompts was jail, so do a picture that you've been putting off. And so I definitely was going to put off this coloring book. I thought, okay, well, no, it'll count towards the prompt. And then the other prompt that I had for Coloropoly was food. And so this actually takes twofold for me. And when I started, I wasn't that happy with it, but I love the results of this. So I did this all in either Tombow water-based marker, twin tones, or mild liners. And those are my go-to water-based markers. I do actually have Crayola Super Tips, but those are tucked away, so I have to get for them, so I never do. And then I did a lot of glitter gel pen on top of it. I wanted this to look like one of those Japanese ramen bowls that have a bit of lacquer on it, and so I wanted to be both red but also some black elements and shiny elements. It's very whimsical. I don't know why there's a ramen ocean with this little factory in it, but you know, I was digging it. And then this is actually a stencil that I did. This is the outline of the stencil, and then I did a little bit of wash outside of it, and that just kind of centers it without me having to do a full-on background. And then I thought, just to kind of tie in the pink, I did some outline of the stencil element in my twin tone pen. And I actually really like how this came out. It is a double-sided book, and there was a little bit of bleed through there and there, but I'm not going to let that bother me. I'll either incorporate that into if I do this page, or I'll highlight that it's a bleed through and just make a feature of it. I don't get bothered by that kind of stuff. But yeah, that is the final picture that I did. I don't know how many I will be doing for December. I did really go a bit crazy with journaling, with reading. I want to get into some of my creative journals. And so I think going forward, I definitely do want to color because it does hit a different notch or button or whatever for me, that I can be creative. But I may not do as many as I was when all I was doing was just coloring. But like I said in the beginning of the video, whether I do 2 pictures or 20, 30, 40, it doesn't matter. I'm not counting it. That's not important to me, and I will definitely share it with you guys. All right, guys, I would love to know what your favorite picture of this month's selection was. I think it's either a tie between this one or the one from Surreal by Ukuko, the one where her bottom half of her body is the fishbowl. I think that one is just so striking. All right, guys, well, that's it for me for now. And as always, aloha.